here at the Vox Cascadia podcast, you know we are nothing but supportive. So tonight, we are going to wrap our arms around a member of our community and a member of this podcast who has been struggling and struggled with a team recently. So, Connor, you're in a safe space. We love you, and we've brought a professional to help you figure out what the fuck to do with Vet Guard because you suck with them.
I sure do.
So, we got Sammy here with us tonight. Sammy, who not only won LVO, but took down a GT with the Death Korps of Krieg, is what they're called. So, Sammy, thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so Tyler's joining us as well, too.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to hear from you, buddy. So, yeah, but I was on Reddit at work when I was supposed to be working, and I was in the Kill Team Reddit and saw that somebody won a GT with, it says Veteran Guard, but Death Korps of Krieg, and I recognized the name. It was Sammy, and we'd talked to Sammy previously after Sammy's win at LVO, and so I reached out and I was like, bro, what is going on? What are you doing? What do you know? And so Sammy's got some apparently he got some sneaky tech. So, but first let's Connor, let's talk about your experience with Death Korps Krieg and where you think they're at, and then we'll hear how to actually play them well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a pretty fun team. That was the main thing I was doing with them, was just trying to enjoy the game, and thankfully I think they're good at that. I love their saturate and accurate one play. That's just a good time. It's crazy, stupidly powerful. Mix that in with Guardsman Order for Ceaseless across the map, and you have a surprisingly reliable shooting team. I think overall, though, they fall apart in most melee matchups. Like the shovels or whatever their equipment is to get 3-4, not bad. And they've got decent amount of bodies, but they still die to most things in 2 hits in terms of melee combat. Mix that in with just once you start losing bodies, especially like your key shooting pieces, you really start to run out of steam. And since there's essentially only 1 point most of the time you're fighting over, you have to throw a lot of guys into that meat grinder. And if you can't really get control of it, you're going to be in a bit of a problem.
Now, Tyler, have you had much experience against horde teams or with horde teams this edition?
I've had a little bit here and there. We have a lot of players down in Salem that rotate in and out, but no one's been too successful with them, at least that I've seen.
So, and I played Brood Brothers middle of last year, about a year ago. Actually, I was playing Brood Brothers at Tacoma, and had some success with them. But new edition came out, and I put away my toys to try my Cascadia. They suck. They may be better now, but I've been kind of on elite teams, kind of on my orc vibe, orkiest guy out there. But Sammy, you found the way. So can you tell us a little bit about one? I mean, how'd your tournament go? Did you, based on what I saw, looks like you had some pretty stiff competition in the in that NorCal Open.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys know who Kill Team is, they come up quite often to NorCal tournaments and take all our money and laugh in our faces. So I had to rep NorCal a little bit and come beat them back down. Yeah, the tournament overall went pretty well. I think my most impressive metric was that I kept the kill op for all games below 2. So it was pretty good against, I think I played against Felgor, Salvagers, Warp Coven, Plague Marines, Star Striders, and I'm forgetting something else in there. But I played against a variety of opponents. Like Connor was saying, Death Korps have a really good time at shooting stuff. So overall, I sort of played a style that I think is uncommon currently, which is like more of I keep saying it's a zoning style, which is like, hey, you can't enter this space because if you do, I'm going to give someone an APL and they're going to run up and shoot you. So a lot of people weren't expecting that, and that's how I won a lot of my games. Just being sort of, the guy that was like playing the odd thing out, and everyone's like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, looking at the top cut for that tournament, you had with Death Korps Krieg, Joshua Kelly, Jason Steinke, I always get it wrong. With Hearthkin Salvagers, Peter Grassley on Warp Coven, Jimmy Kelly on Legionary, Justin Lowell on Corsair Void Scars, Alyssa Alfaro on Angels of Death, and then Sean Connell on Plague Marines. So very that top cut, that top 8 is very, maybe outside of Corsairs, maybe Hearthkin, are pretty what people would consider, I'd say, meta teams at this point. So, and you were able to find a way into that top cut, but also like to take the whole thing down. So, you said like you screen a lot, so just kind of making people make bad decisions if they want to come and fight you.
Yeah, so I think speaking on sort of like a horde mentality this edition, I think the difference between last and how you play the horde teams now is that your job as the horde player is not to allow the elite player or these mid-range teams like Corsairs or Hand of the Archon to enter into zones of the board where they have access to double kills or to charge you, stuff like that. So we all sort of know, hopefully, listeners of this podcast, like sort of a general feel of the game where, your opponent is going to try to move a unit into a certain place to do a certain thing in the next turning point, right? Because I think we all sort of know that the current edition is sort of like staging TP1, TP2 through 4. You're sort of going at your opponent. So what I've sort of had it a lot more success with playing hordes this way is I will move people up into positions where if they do move that unit, like let's say it's like a Space Marine Assault Intercessor, right, that probably wants to get a double charge off, I will have my melta gun in the position where they can threaten that area before that intercessor can move into that position, and then the melta gun can just sort of hold that space until they use all their activations, and then that intercessor can never move into that position because they're too afraid of the melta gunner running up and just killing it, right? So that's the game plan. Is just sort of being like, hey, if you enter this space, there's a high chance that this guy is going to come up and just blast your face off. So you shouldn't do it. And my opponents are always like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I'm not going to move from my deployment zone. And so I've done that, I think, against every opponent, and it's worked because they're, a melta gun. I think I did the calculations on it. It has a 50% chance of killing a full Marine outright with accurate and ceaseless, which is really, really strong. So, yeah, people get pretty scared of it, and that's how I've been having success so far.
So how you're describing it, are you essentially like having a front line where if somebody's going to come up and take out this guy, they're going to be kind of stranded out in the open and then eat that melta? Or is it, or how are you playing it out?
So let's say there's like a barricade, right? And the Space Marine player puts a barricade into position that is going to, they're going to use it as a staging point, right? They're going to use it to have the Space Marine come in and, hurt your guys, right? Death Korps have an equipment called Chronometer, which basically allows them to move 3 inches up at the beginning of the game. And then they have something called move, which allows them to get an extra inch on their normal move. So basically, what I like to say is that you can threaten that barricade from the get-go almost always because you also have APL giver on your comms. So they can never move up to that staging point. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, so basically you're putting a big intimidation piece like right where they need to go to kind of halt the game where it's at and allow you to take control with your horde, right?
Yep, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, that's a really powerful strategy, especially because a lot of those teams want to move forward so hard. I think that there's a lot of value in playing pretty cagey this edition with teams that used to be more aggressive.
Yeah, I think a lot of the teams currently are playing this like style because we just don't have as many objectives as we did last edition, where they're just like blitzing forward, right? And I think people are sort of not used to that idea yet. Is where there's just Space Marine players just saying, like, you know what, I'm going to move 9 inches up the board, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? And just sort of how the meta has developed, there's a lot less like initial TP1 movement. So people are just sort of allowing that to happen or getting afraid of those Space Marines moving up. But Death Korps don't really have to worry about that because they're so accurate in killing stuff. they can just basically be like, haha, you can't really move into this space, or you're gonna take a melter to the face. So this team now is less about objectives and more about killing the opponent pretty efficiently. So, and there's other tech there too. I haven't really discussed it, is like using the sapper to hold zones or hold places, using the gas bombardment to make sure that you can't get dashed upon and shot, with the Marines using a bolt rifle or something. So they have just a lot of tools. They have a lot of tools to zone out areas of control and hold it, while still doing the crit op, because they have more activations. And then also doing the tack up. They're not very good at doing tack up though. They suck. So
So what are you taking for tac ops, and what are you scoring on?
I am only really taking Seize Ground. It's the only feasible one where you can be the proactive person, sort of scoring it, for your own self. All the other ones are sort of reliant on your opponent. Like Contain is reliant on your opponent not playing aggressive. Storm Objectives relies on your opponent sitting on the objective, stuff like that. So Seize Ground, or sorry, I guess it's called Take Ground, is the only one where you can dictate, hey, I have this many APL in this area, stuff like that. Central control is sort of hard to do for the team because they don't really want to be on the line or near the center always. And you're spread out a little too far, and then you sort of crumble. And then I think the other one is Champion and Overrun for their choices. We don't choose Champion because we might not get the kill, and then we don't choose Overrun because I think it's impossible for this team. So
you're in excuse me, in security most of the time, it sounds like.
yeah, only security, unfortunately. I think Seek and Destroy is it's too hard for the team.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got some killing power, but maybe is it that you're like something with champion, you're not going to pick, maybe it's going to take more than one guy to get that kill, so picking your champion's harder.
Yeah, it also sort of telegraphs like to your opponent, hey, if you kill my Meltagun, or I should say, it's more like you don't have enough units that are good enough to do champion every turn, right? So because eventually you're going to trade your Meltagun for Marine, or you're going to trade it for a piece, and then that's one piece gone, right? And then your Plasma may or may not kill another piece. But those are like the only two really super reliable ones that can, full out right kill a person. Otherwise, right, everyone else is sort of okay but not great. And then if you choose champion and then somehow they kill that poor guy, and you didn't see something like maybe they get like a sneaky frag grenade on your guy or something, you just sort of lose. So I definitely would not take champion. Unfortunately, it's only good on Marines right now.
Now, Connor, this is all for you. So
Mm-hmm.
this is your chance to ask somebody who's actually good with the team that you took to a tournament and lost 7 straight games any questions that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what's the game plan if like the Melta just fumbles and like your opening move turn 2 where you had initiative just like completely breaks or something where everything that goes wrong in your first like 2 or 3 activations does go wrong. How do you try and recover from that?
So my plan of action is to currently have them never be in a position to sort of strike me TP 2 or 3, at least TP 2 minimally. So to speak on something I spoke on earlier, the Sapper and Gas Bombardment, these are changes from previous edition to now. The Sapper is just a pure defensive piece where he'll just have to run up, he'll throw down a mine, and then he has to leave and he can't explode it, which is different from last edition where you could move up and explode it in the same turn. I use that, and I use the Gas Bombardment to zone off areas from where I know they're gonna, try to take, if they take initiative, run up and maybe kill a couple guys. The Gas Bombardment, to speak on it, is an equipment where if someone moves within it and stays within it, they lose an APL. And a lot of Marines this edition actually don't have APL ignore modifier stuff. Last edition they have a ton of it. So if they ever move within 2, or if they're within 3 of that token that you place during the Gambit phase, they can never actually shoot your guy if they move dash into it, or if they charge, they can only kill one guy and can't, shoot another. That's how I've limited losing a lot of guys. because the sapper is so scary, and he typically is about 6 inches away from the initial mine placement. That he can control an area, just be ready, wait for someone to step on maybe a point, and then blow it up. And then the gas is like, hey, don't come into this space. And you can still have your Melta or your Plasma in aggressive spots then, because your Melta then just has to move through the gas. Because the only time you lose the APL is if you end within it. So you always are on the aggressive with the gas, and your opponent is always on the defensive with the gas. And that's how I've sort of stemmed the bleeding, per se. I guess that's how I describe it.
No, that makes perfect sense. The gas bombardment, like the handful of games there I remember to use it, always a powerful piece. It's just getting in the habit of remembering you have it was a difficult thing for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I definitely think if you don't use gas bombardment, you're going to lose the game. I actually think it's probably the most important piece of equipment next to crack grenades now, for Death Korps. Like, I think the top 3 choices are in this order: gas bombardment, crack grenades, and chronometer was in like, and then you have like light barricades mixed in there and a couple other things. But yeah, gas bombardment is like probably the most important piece to the Death Korps game plan. Is also like the most vital piece, because if you don't use it, the team starts to crumble, because the gas is what sort of dissuades people from entering into places with the sapper. So if they can just be like, haha, I'm gonna move up and kill 2 guys, and they're like really important, and you have no way to be like, you can't do that, you just start falling apart. Because if you start trading, I also say you shouldn't start, you should try to be really conservative into TP2. Hopefully you've dissuaded them from entering into the zones, like we were saying earlier, from TP1, so that they're still really far back. So when they do move up TP2, you're still in a position to sort of strike them and not lose your pieces, because you have more activations than them, hopefully. That's like the game plan. It's sort of like feigning like I'm weak, and then, actually showing strength.
So for the tournament that you were in, what were the boards like? Was it Volcus and Into the Dark, or was there a mix of other stuff too?
No, just Volk isn't in the dark. I think the team does best on open, actually.
Okay. Do you so is there something what's the limiting factor on Into the Dark, and how do you deal with that?
So for me, the limiting factor is that you can't control as much space as you'd like in open, because the chronometer is basically you move 3 inches forward, right? So some of the maps for GW, they're like literally walls that block off certain areas, and you cannot actually move into them. So you can't really take the equipment piece. So a lot of Marines, what they can do is they can just run up, go on guard, and then you can't open that door. And then they have a staging spot where you can't really interact with them. And basically, they can just run through that door now next turn if you lose initiative, and then kill so many guys. I've been trying to do a lot of thinking of like how to get around those, but sometimes the board is just really bad, unfortunately.
Did you have much experience with Vetguard before recently? Is this a team you've played like in last edition or earlier in this edition?
I played a lot of it last edition. I played, I want to say, close to 50 games. I actually think it was my first ever team I competitively started playing, because I was watching a Russian player, and he like inspired me to play it. So, um, yeah, I've been playing it for quite a bit. I think that a lot of that experience, sort of knowing, when to activate, not activate, sort of like, stuff like that, has really played a big part in me winning with the team. I think anyone that's like just starting out new, fresh out of the gate, playing this team, it's really hard. It's not like you can pick this up in a couple of days. I think a lot of what my experience has come to shown is that when you're playing a horde team, I need to know like really niche concepts. Um, Unfortunately, I think it's just elite meta right now. It's just like they can move up and do whatever, and you're sort of having to play like 4D chess to win.
And then your tournament win was before the balanced data slate last week. Have you and I Vetguard got a little bit of a buff as well on some stuff too. How do you think those changes are they gonna change how you play, or are they just gonna make it easier to play the way you do?
I think it's going to make it easier to play. I think they're really good changes. I think the clear the line having severe really does, mess with some breakpoints in certain scenarios. But I know Connor was speaking about it, and he brought hand axes. It's not going to change the fact that the team is mainly a shooting team and not a melee team, unfortunately, though. But it's a good buff. It's not. I'm not unhappy about it.
And then how you play with this team? Have you thought about applying that and how it would apply to other horde teams, or is the strategies you've talked about, is it pretty much Vetguard specific?
No, I think there are a couple teams that can do what Vetguard are doing, but better. Just strictly because they have better tac ops. Not even really the units. Like I think Brood Brother can do what Vetguard are doing. I think Chaos Cult, which has shown really strong performances, can do what Vetguard are doing, but with like really good melee threats. They just don't have as much shooting. I think Kroot can do what Vetguard are doing or Death Korps are doing. I think what's the other team I was thinking of? Oh, I think now Aquilians and Vespids can do what Vetguard are doing because they have so much unreciprocal threat with their drop tokens and the flying. So I don't think Vetguard are unique in this playstyle. I think I think a lot of teams can hold space and not allow people to enter it. I just think people need to start taking reposition the scouting thing instead of taking what's it called equipment every game.
Is that to just to win initiative, or just to make sure you're positioned more threatening than like you've talked about?
To position more like to position in a more threatening position, right? I think a lot of people are really slamming down that equipment. You need like the fifth piece of equipment. I think sometimes it's not needed. I think actually just for horde players that are struggling into elite, I would really highly recommend you trying to take the third scouting thing. I think it's called reposition, and just like trying to hold that idea of space. I think you'll probably find you have more success because the elite player is going to be really worried if it's like the unit you moved up is a melta gunner, or it's like a fusion grenade for pathfinders, or it's like a rail rifle from Vespids, or anything like that. They're just not going to be able to be like, hey, I'm going to move my marine into this spot where they can charge like 18 guys all of a sudden.
So Connor, you've gotten quite a bit of information now. Are
Yes.
you inspired to go back to the Death Korps and redeem yourself, or have you just is it just PTSD and you're never going to be able to?
I
to
mean,
go back
I think I'll still pick him up occasionally because I have the team modeled up, and I'm in theory gonna do a Krieg 40k army, so I'll have the models, and they were a good time. But in terms of like horde teams, I found the most success with, it was definitely Blooded, because I think they kind of matched my love for a little bit more melee threat while still having some forms of reliable shooting slash. Well, I have two special gunners, so I will blow all my command points on them to make sure they hit.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't have anyone who's like really good with Blooded up in your area that you get to play with every once in a while.
Exactly. There's no one in the Pacific Northwest beyond me that plays Blooded, as we all know.
Absolutely.
No one I could like get 40 games against Blooded with in like the course of a week if I really wanted to, or something like that.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have like 500 games worth of Blooded. Definitely.
Yeah, no such person exists.
He doesn't play like more games in a week of Kill Team than probably all of us do combined. Like,
Yep.
Dude's an animal. We love you, Bean.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Oh, Brandon? Oh, I thought you meant.
Yeah, I thought we were just making up a dude.
So, gentlemen, you have any? We're going to continue on, but any last questions or last thoughts? Sammy, you got any kind of closing thoughts on Death Korps Krieg?
I think my last closing thoughts on the team is that they are actually in a really good spot. I just think people need to adjust their idea on what the game is now. I think people have really like honed in on this idea that the game is about killing, where I feel like for horde players now, I think it's really important to like shift the mindset from I'm going to play like a space marine. You have to think of yourself as like, I am the person that's trying to minimize losses at all costs. So how do I be as sneaky as possible? So that means you have to hold back some of your aggression sometimes. Sometimes the best play is not to run out your Meltagun the beginning of TB2. Sometimes it's actually just to like hold him there and just be patient, unfortunately.
You sound so much like a counselor. You're like, sometimes we need to hold back on our aggression. We need to learn to take up space in this new world we find ourselves in. And, you know, once you do that, you'll find great success where you didn't before.
Honestly, yes. Honestly, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm trying to counsel all the horde players back up to playing hordes because we have so many elite players running around that just
Absolutely.
saying that, oh yeah, it's elite meta. It's everything can lose to elites. Well, I'm like, I don't know if that's super true, guys. No, it's only elites. You can only play elites. That's the only way you can win.
Yeah, I think that there's the meta's shaping up really good. I think as people unlock, more play styles, kind of like you're talking about, as you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of success with a lot of these teams that were thought mid tier for a while. I think people are just learning how to play them. They're unlocking the techniques. The balance is getting better, and that's only helping these teams too.
You hear that,
Yeah,
Connor?
definitely.
Maybe there is some tech. Sammy, could you unlock AdMech? Can you unlock Hunterclade, or is it just
I just
trash?
I as someone that has me and Connor have talked a lot about Hunterclad. I really like AdMech, and I am in the same boat as Connor. I do think they are in such a terrible spot currently, that I don't think I think there's a world, honestly, where you could win a GT with the team. I think in its current form, but it's the question is like, why would you want to when everything? I think almost everything above it now after this most recent like data slate is better. Like Pathfinders were terrible, and they are now better than Hunterclad in almost every respect. So it's like
And
you
also,
could.
you
It's
probably just have more fun playing other teams because you're not
yeah.
constantly putting an ability that like weakens half your team, which is like my main complaint. Like, just get rid of that so the team's fun again. Is all I can say.
And also, like, I don't know why they have to take a D3 plus whatever to do a cool tac op or tac like a firefight ploy.
Yeah,
Um,
it
every
already
other
costs
team,
one, and then you got to take 2 or 3 damage to do something most teams have baked into some guardsman's equivalence data sheet.
yeah,
Like, what the
yeah,
fuck, man?
yeah. All of that, all of that just makes me not want to play the team. Unfortunately, it's just I could, and I think a lot of people could, in theory, do well with the team, but I think in its current form, it just needs a little bit more love. And then yes, but right now I think it's the worst team in the game. I don't think there is a team now, which is crazy to say, that is worse than them. I think Vespits are better than them. I think Aquilians are better than them, and
Like,
they were bottom of
breachers
the
are
tier.
kind of tied with them now, but
I feel like Breachers are actually, you could probably do really well with Breachers, barring any elite matchup. But
yeah.
yeah, I think Breachers are probably better than poor Hunterclad, because like Hunterclad don't have a melta-gun like Breachers do. So that's just another strike for poor Hunterclad.
I think that's a valid point. No meltagun. That's what else you have to say about it.
Like, they've got the arc rifle, which is a cool gun. A stun is always nice, and it's pretty reliable stun, but it's still not like the best weapon in terms of removing a piece, which a melta gun does.
I have a
Yeah,
question for y'all. I feels like, and maybe you can tell me what your theory is on this. Does GW balance stuff based on how much they're played? Because yes, Hunterclade and yes, Breachers have a horrible win rate and they're down at the bottom, but nobody's playing them. And I don't know if it's a thing where, Connor, you got to take your lumps and take them to a GT and get your ass kicked with them so they get buffed, or is should Games Workshop just know that they suck, or do you guys think that they look at win rates, or do you guys think that they actually look at the rules?
They should be looking at play rates and see that nobody's playing them.
Yeah, because like the play rates, the problem is if you use the play rate only as your balance tool, that's not a great metric. Because if a team's really bad, it's just going to have a play rate, especially at tournaments. Like people play Hunter Clade all the time, from what I understand, casually, but you don't bring them to a tournament because you're just not going to have a good time with them, and they're not really much of a competitive team. So the fact they have such a low play rate probably is making them not hesitant to buff them, but like not worried about doing it, which I don't necessarily like. But the other thing too is they're probably not putting a ton of focus on them in the first place, because even if they do get buffed, the play rate of the team is always going to be so small, because in order to get an optimized roster, you need to drop like at least 3 boxes worth, and like realistically 4 or 5 boxes of models. And most kill team players just don't want to drop $200 to play a team at the best of its ability.
I mean, it seems like Warp Coven, Void Dancers, and Wormblade are getting played though.
No, I don't. As someone that has played Warp Coven for almost second edition to now, I'm literally the only Warp Coven player in NorCal. Uh, so I mean, I played them when they were bad. I played them when they were good, and like I think part of it is like it is what he's saying. It's like, Connor's right. I think dropping $300 for a team is just not what kill team players want to do. I mean, I think part of it also is like they just didn't have a box, so no one can just like go out and buy a Hunter Clad box and be like, oh yeah, I can play it now. So I think that's part of the problem. I think Warp Coven is only really popular because it was so strong. I think now, what's the play rate? Like 40% ish, 45, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I pay attention to the stat shows just a little bit, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I've ran into more than enough Warp Coven and Wormblade. Some of the big tournaments. I know I played Warp Coven twice at LVO. I played them.
Well, to be fair, at LVO, they
Adepticon.
were like top of the game right then still.
Yeah, I played them at Adepticon too. I ran into Wormblade a couple times too.
Yeah. I will also say those teams have the advantage of, like, same thing with Hunterclade. If you played them last edition, you still have a roster that's 100% legal. It's just they're not going to pick them out right now because, again, they're not really a fun team to play, nor are they very good for most players. So it's in part why they're just not getting touched at all.
Well, good news for the AdMech lovers out there. Soon we're gonna have Foot Team coming out very, very soon with the what are they called, the
The Battleclade servitors.
Yeah, Battleclade. Yeah, Sammy, what do you
That's their
think?
name.
They're called Battleclade. So yeah,
They look nothing like a battle guy. I don't know. They look like a bunch of guys. They just look like they slapped some servitors on them and just said, "Hey, here's some servitors." Battleclade, huh? That's a cool name, I guess.
Yeah, if only we had, like actual battle servitors that they could have made models of, or, recycled even. Guys with treads and giant plasma guns that would fit.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, these guys don't look like Battleclade.
Not like what you would use to repair a broken vent on a spaceship looking guys.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But, I mean, maybe the rules will be really cool.
I keep saying that. That's my hope. I mean, I think the Tech Priest on that team looks super cool. I think he's going to be the guy that makes it all function. That's my praying, but yeah, maybe, that's my prayer at least. So.
Same. The new Tech Priest model does look pretty cool, even if he's a little goofy. I like the goofy Tech Priest ones. I still would have preferred one that looks like a badass, but hey, we'll take that. Maybe though, this will be like the first team where your leader, like kind of almost Inquisition, but even more extreme, like. Your leader never leaves deployment because they have like 8 APL and they can pass it out to your like teammates and shit, but they can like just do all these wacky abilities, but they have to like not move in order to do that or something.
That would be sick, honestly.
Yeah, like maybe like unironically give a guy like 6 APL, but you can only use 2 on yourself. And then like you have like 8 options for like buffing allies or giving out free ploys or like just some crazy shit. Like, just go off the board with the design because it's AdMech. That's what they always should be, is some crazy shit.
I hope that's the case. I don't want to get my hopes up because I've been disappointed by GW almost every box. And I think the most recent box has really disappointed me with, one, how strong they are. But I need to ask you all, did anyone like actually... I've heard people really like the Sanctifier models.
I mean,
do any of you really like the Sanctifier models?
I love my Sanctifier models.
Well, Tyler, you spent $300 kit bashing them.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. You guys are talking like, oh, no one wants to spend $200 on it. When I get into a team, I spend $300 to $600 kit bashing them sometimes. So,
well, hey, kit bashing, that's sick, and your models do look great.
Yeah,
but
I think the Sanctifiers were like great base for models. I think that the models as themselves are kind of flat, like the Inquisition and the Star Striders. I think there's some good sculpts individually in there, but like by themselves without some work, they kind of look flat, static.
I really like them. I think they really show kind of that 40k ecclesiarchy look, which I don't feel like we've seen a ton of, except for a little bit with Inquisition or Inquisitorial Agents. I don't know. I kind of like to see this other side of it, and I think that's one of the things that Kill Team does is that we can see these weird pieces of the Imperium that we don't ever see in just big 40k armies. I think they're cool.
Oh, like I think
I
conceptually they're cool. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah. I think overall the models were nice, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of them in terms of like models that appeal to me because I'm definitely more of like I prefer the kind of techier, more like specialist look of models. Like it's why I think Phobos Strike Team is like legitimately one of the best looking teams they've ever released. Same with like Blooded 2, where just each guy drips in character and stuff. I
Yeah.
did just see
Phobos
today.
strip with character.
I think so. I think in terms of like being specialist, like dudes that
He just
actually.
likes Halo.
I mean, I do like Halo, but
It's just Halo.
but also, yeah, I mean, it's a bit. But in terms of like actually kill team do like Marines doing spec ops, they match it way more than any other like team in the game.
For sure. I mean, like I do think Phobos are a little flat unless you really do them up. We've obviously seen like Jeremy Spake do incredible Phobos.
Yeah.
Chris Fitz also incredible Phobos when he did his. There's other incredible.
True. I will say they require a little bit of extra effort on your part to make them go from like what I'd say is like an 8 or 9 out of 10 to like that perfect 10 out of 10. But the advantage of being Marines is like cough and someone will hand you 20 bits worth of Marines. So that's the nice easy thing to do. But
you're like, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this obscure chapter that they've never like officially printed models, and people are like, oh yeah, I got some bits for that for you.
Exactly. It just works. Marines have that advantage. I will say though, for the first time today, because I didn't actually pick up Sanctifiers, I saw someone post a photo on Reddit where like all of the models can bring hoods rather than like the heads, and I think that really helped. I wish I had known that because they instantly looked way cooler to me because it reminded me of like proper assassins. Like I don't know if any of you guys ever played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, but where you recruit your chapter of like guys to go do missions with you, and I love that look for them.
Bunch of motley men.
Exactly. Yeah, like full Robin Hood type shit.
Yeah. So like back to your point about Phobos, I think that Sanctifiers are one of those teams. I do agree with Chuck that it's cool to see like the missionaries, and like I think that the sculpts are fine. Like I said, I think that they're physically flat a lot of times.
Yeah, you want some bustier models. We get it, Tyler.
Absolutely. Like I like them curvy, thick.
Yeah, we need that hourglass figure.
Yeah, that's why I play Kingdom Death.
I play Kingdom Death too. I hear you there. But that's why I needed my Battle Sisters. Where are my Battle Sisters with armor? Where are my, I don't know, anything but, I don't know, motley old men is what I said. And then I was like, oh, well, here we go.
I mean, like I said, I think that they were like great base models to like cut up and convert and stuff like that. I think that there's like a lot of inspiration, especially if you lean into like that wretched old man thing even more, like make them even more wretched and gross and disgusting. I think that's pretty fun. But like, again with the Goremongers too, I think that they're fun to kit bash. I'm having a good time with mine. So.
Yeah, that's good. I'm happy that's the case for the box overall because that's what I've been hearing. I just for the side of like, I guess thematics, it felt like they did all this right. They released us like these cool sort of models, but then they were like, you know what, we got to make them really strong so they sell because maybe people don't like the look of them. I just hope that's not the case next box. I hope it's a little bit back down to earth.
So yeah. I do think that like given testing timelines and print timelines and stuff like that, you have to assume that this was tested before any of the balanced data slates. All this stuff is probably we probably already have the next box in the warehouse, somewhere in England.
Yeah, hell, we probably got the next like box for the season, like the one after this Admech Tyranids box is probably being printed as we speak.
Exactly, if it's not already complete. So, like, you figure that they probably balance these teams against crazy Warp Coven, crazy Legionaries, like all of these teams just like at their absolute peak, okay? And then the internal box balance is also pretty decent, And we know that some of the playtesters, they're not like there's a lot of really great playtesters, but like there's also some that are just like having fun with it, as we've seen from the balance of previous boxes.
Yeah.
They're not pulling out the busted combos. And so I think that like internally the balance is probably okay, within their margin of error, and then it was too late on the rules, and that's why we got a balanced data slate so fast after that at least addressed a little bit with the sanctifiers, bringing them back down to earth a bit. Not that they're not one of the best teams in the game still.
No, of course. I hear you. I definitely agree with the nerf they did with it. Honestly, I want to ask if you guys think there's any team, like maybe with the exception of some elite teams, because I think some of them would do okay, but like any other team besides elite that has a chance of taking down sanctifiers or goremongers at the current moment. I just don't think there is.
Hunter Clade for sure.
If they listen to my wish list, then Hunter Clade, absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe like Brood Brothers do.
I think.
Like
that's a cool choice.
Wormblade.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wormblade. The more I've been reading them and like hearing Zach talk about them, disregarding Dice Zach, I think you might know him, Sammy. He's really big on those guys. So I think Wormblade might be like sleeper broken. They just have the thing of not a ton of people ever play them in the first place, and
I've said that for a long time. I literally put them in like A at the beginning of the season, and then they've just been doing poorly. So maybe we just need a pilot, get someone back on the Wormblade train, and we're going to see results, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's some tech there. I wonder if they kind of, have some troubles like later on in the game. I think they could probably pull out a couple cool moves, but I think that if anyone in Brood Brothers maybe be a sleeper. I do think that hordes have some play right now.
Well, that's good. No more elite meta. Maybe people will stop complaining about elites and they'll be untouched. Who knows?
I mean, the most disrespectful thing, and I'm going to complain about this till the day I die, is the Hand of the Archon nerf this last balanced data slate. that was like solidly 50% win rate, not doing anything incredible. They're like, these guys, they've got access to too many rerolls. We're just gonna, goremongers, they're doing great. They get everything. We're gonna kick you guys in the balls.
And your bird needs to have 4 attacks. Yep.
Tyler, I wrote a lot of emails to get that to happen because fuck the Drukhari.
Yeah, that's the only way.
No, Chuck, that's what they want.
That's true. Don't fuck them. Say nice things to them. Hold their hand. I don't know. Yeah, but no, I'll never stop laughing at when Tyler pulls up the data slate and then just like, what? Why? So, but no, it was probably unnecessary. It didn't seem like they were doing great anyway. So why?
It was a weird change.
Was that just to bring them in line with other horde teams, or excuse me, other elf teams?
No, they're like they're already the worst of the elf teams.
Yeah, I just think sometimes the nerfs are a little strange. Sometimes the buffs are a little strange, but I think this one was a little uncalled for. Just like I think a couple balanced data sets ago, like they really shot higher tech circles in the knees, and I was like, I wanted them nerfed, but not like you didn't have to crumple them.
Absolutely. I think that no offense, Layla, because I'm blaming you personally for this if you listen to our podcast. I think that a Hand of the Archon player traumatized you and you were like, I'm nerfing you guys. I think it was a personal attack on Hand of the Archon. So
it was actually, she just is upset you haven't dropped a shirt for her favorite faction yet, and she's like, let me just nerf Tyler's favorite thing.
Oh man, that's probably what it is.
It's the only possible explanation, is in a personal attack.
Sammy, have you ran Vekard against the new Sanctifiers or Goremongers?
I am currently not. I'm actually, I'm going to give some secret tech on this podcast. I'm thinking of playing Vespids and Kazakin for some time. I'm not going to speak on why, but I think there's some secret tech that I think Vespids and Kazakin bring into those teams that I think can do well, but I have to test it out first.
All right. Well, I made Castrican all last edition basically. So once you figure that out, slide into my DMs and then and let me know what's going on with them because
I'll
I played
yeah,
like 3 games of
no.
them and I haven't really done much with them this episode.
Yeah, I think the buffs really put them in a good spot, and I think there's some play with how they function. I have to get some reps in. Death Korps to me, and I've spoken it a couple of times. I think they're really strong in terms of like doing the thing of minimizing. I don't like playing that way. I sort of like playing stuff like Wrecker Crew, where it's like, haha, I'm gonna run in, smack you in the face, and blow up everyone. Vespids sort of do that because they fly, and so I can be like, haha, I'm gonna fly, shoot you in the face. So hopefully that works into the Sanctifiers because I think if you kill like the Sanctifier leader and a couple other key units, like very like specifically like their gunners and the I think there's one other unit. I think it's the APL giver. It's the cherub, I think it's called. You can make the team crumble because I think they are really like Inquisition where they have all these strong auras, but if you get rid of just like one or two of them, they start to really fall apart quickly. But I don't know yet. I just have to try it.
So you're thinking you're going to go Vespids and Castrican for a little bit and
Yeah, I think the buffs make me interested enough to try them out. And now that I've won with Death Korps for this one GT, I'm sort of shelving them and just to see what happens. And then I may come back in the future and maybe I'll play them at Worlds. Who knows?
So I was going to ask if Worlds was tomorrow. I think we did this after you won LVO, but what would you bring into Worlds tomorrow?
I think
Knowing
if
everything you
I,
know.
yeah, with everything I know now, currently with the current setup of teams in the current meta, um, I think there is a world where I would bring Death Korps Krieg, but there's also a world where I bring Goremongers. But I personally think, if like I think with the current sort of how I think the world is going to go, I think Death Korps will be secretly really strong into Worlds. And I think, I'm going to put this prediction out now. I do not think an elite team is going to be winning Worlds this year.
All right.
I'll agree with that. I think by the time we get to Worlds, it will not be an elite team that takes it.
Sammy, is there anything from the data slate that really surprised you besides maybe the Hand of the Archon? Anything you thought we would see, or anything we did see that you thought was just kind of out there?
Nothing really like screamed at me and said this was super out of line besides the Hand of the Archon stuff. The only non-buff team being Hunterclad, or I guess to say the only really not super buff team, Hunterclad being one of them, was a weird change. I think actually I really do want to like say like the kill team developers do a really good job at like changing stuff to feel appropriate. Sometimes they miss the mark, and that's how it goes. I get that. But they do a good job. So nothing really
Great.
this time around was like, oh, this was like the worst buff / nerf in the world. I think a couple patches ago it was like higher tick circle. I was like, wow, that was really heavy handed for a team I didn't think was that strong. There was one thing I was surprised I didn't get sort of looked at was Chaos Cult. I think they are secretly next to Brood Brother and a few other hordes. I think they are. I could see Chaos Cult winning like Worlds and a couple of GTs in the near future, to be honest, if they don't get touched.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen many people in our area playing them, but what do you? So, I mean, do you think it's kind of the same thing that Vetguard have, but they can also have some melee threat? They've got a lot of people to screen out areas, but then they've got the torments and stuff too.
Yeah, their screening out ability is super high. And also like I don't see a Marine unless it's like maybe Intercessor, and even then I don't think it's happening. I don't see a lot of Marines running into a Torment and winning that fight, especially if the Iconarch is nearby, reducing damage. I think they almost always lose that fight. And I'd be surprised if they don't get nerfed in the next data slate because I think they're going to be up there in the big bad world soon.
Cool. I've got mine built. I don't think I'm smart enough to play them, but I don't think I'm smart enough to play most horde teams. So, Sammy, you said you're going to Tacoma.
Yeah, if you guys are, that's your home turf. You guys would be there. I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a pretty big showing. Tacoma's usually a fairly large event, so the largest of all of the Games Workshop events in the
Yeah, I think we
country.
had
So
93 players last year, I think.
Oh
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
It's a
yeah.
big
So
boy.
I expect even more players this year. And then we'll hopefully be doing a social night on Friday night too. So you know,
Yeah, you give me that
Yeah.
Castrican tech, and maybe I can get you a ticket to the KTC social night.
Ooh, I'm excited then. Yeah, I can. I'm excited to come up see you guys. I definitely can give you that tech. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to bring up. I'm really about trying to win Tacoma with a team that no one's expecting to win, just so we can have the article X team won like Vespids. Like I'd love to get Vespids a win and just feel like, yeah, guys, they were just super good all along. You guys just didn't know.
It's only like 2.5 months away, I think, so it's kind of right around the corner, actually.
time to start putting in the reps. So you got just a little bit of time to prep for it. So
Oh yeah.
it'll be
You definitely will see me up there with my tech and it'll be like, whoa, this guy used XX thing. That's crazy. And we'll see what happens.
I can't wait to see it, man.
Hell
So,
yeah, that'll be sick.
Now, so Sammy, you got a golden ticket from LVO, and then the NorCal Open was a golden ticket one too, right?
Yep.
So who'd that since you already had yours, who did that get down to?
I gave it to Joshua.
That kid,
Joshua
that
Kelly.
punk. Oh, come on.
I know, right? But he was like he was in the finals with me. So I mean, he got second and I had first, so I gave it to him. Unfortunately, that's just how it worked for me. I was like, well, whoever's gonna get second, that's who I was gonna get it to. So he got second, so I gave it to him.
No, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Josh was a good kid. He's I've played him twice. He's stomped me both times. So
Oh yeah, he stopped me. I think the first time I played him was maybe right before LVO, and we were talking, and he was like one of the few players I started to play against Legionary once. He crushed me, but we had a great time, and then I got my payback against him this last couple of months. So now we're 1-1. So hopefully next time I play him, I can win again. So I can be like, aha, I am 2-1. So I'm better right now.
any highlights from that final game with Joshua?
Oh, there he made a mistake and where he was really worried about. I had brought the flamer into him because the medic was not, it just wasn't good into Felgor because he was playing Felgor. He was really worried about the torrent on my flamer. And for whatever reason, he just brain farted that I had a frag grenade. So I ran up my my guy. I blasted 4 goats. Because he was like, "Oh, you're gonna torrent me, right?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna throw a frag grenade." And he had this shocked face. He's like, "Oh yeah," and that was probably the key moment where I won because then I think I did like, I don't know, because it has ceaseless on that frag grenade. I think it got 3 to 4 hits every time, and I put most goats down to like 3 to 4 HP, and it was sort of a steamroll from there.
Well,
That's how you want to do it with those teams. Wound them early and then wrap them up. So
Oh, and Alaskan killed a guy. That was my other key moment. Alaskan fully killed a goat, so it was great.
like straight up full health goat or like wounded goat?
No, wounded goat, but I was shocked that it even killed a wounded goat because it's Alaskan.
Yeah,
so
you're like,
that
I'll
was a
just
key
take
moment.
this for some chip damage. Maybe I can like kill you when you charge me and I can hit back, and instead it just blasts someone away. That's the best feeling.
I know. It's like my 2-3 gun is actually good. Whoa, that was crazy. So yeah, that was a cool moment for me.
Well, Sammy, thanks for chatting with us. You got anything, any tournaments coming up in the future?
I think I'm
Besides
going to
Tacoma?
AVT. Yeah, AVT. All Valley team tournaments, Tacoma. I'm honestly trying to win Tacoma, and then I'm not going to try to go to any others. But if I lose Tacoma, I'm going to try to go. I think it's like the Houston or Dallas one, because I want to win at least one other tournament just so I can have it on my record for this being my most successful year. Because right now I'm tied for how many tournaments I've won since I think last year, and if I can win 3, I can be like, aha, I've improved. So that's my personal goal.
you can come up to Killscream 4. So in October, it's going to be
Yeah.
a good time. So we'd
Yeah.
love to see you there. So
Oh yeah, I have to keep that in mind.
yeah, October 24th, 25th, 26th is the dates for CritCon, and Killstream will be on the 25th and 26th. So it's going to be
Okay.
a great time. So
I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, hopefully I can. Hopefully you guys have to hope for that I lose to Cobra, because then I'll have to cut.
well, I mean, we're just going to have to beat you. Is what we can't let you come up here
Oh
and take
boy.
our
Oh boy.
trophy.
Oh
Yeah, you're
no.
gonna have to go through Connor if you want to win that one.
Exactly.
I have yet to play Connor. We've talked a lot. Me and Connor have been chatting for a long time, and we've never played once.
I will definitely have a kill team with me so we can get a game in, like either Friday night or sometime during that.
I
I'm
think you should play
excited.
like you played Bean though on Beta Decima, like when you played Bean and
Oh
LVO
my
on Beta
god.
Decima and smashed drunk.
Well, that means
Ugh.
Sammy's gonna have a decent amount of drinks, and you can crack me open like half a White Claw, Chuck, and I'll be good to go.
I'll take care of you, buddy.
Sweet.
I know. I think Bean got me like 4 drinks. Oh no, it was you, Bean. I had like 4 drinks of like back-to-back tequila drinks in like under an hour. It was great. I was so smashed.
The Vegas way.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, that was a fun game. I think Zach gave you a couple too. So yeah, we were all just kind of funneling booze into that table. So
Oh yeah, that was a good time. Hopefully soon.
yeah, well, thanks for coming on. Like Tyler said, CritCon is going to be October 24th, 25th, 26th. Sammy, have you been to Portland before?
No, be a first time.
Portland, besides what the news says, it's not burnt to the ground. Portland's an amazing city, and especially in October because it should be fall, and it's going to be like nice crisp mornings, nice warm in the afternoon. You get yourself pumpkin spice latte. You walk on the waterfront. Maybe pop into a pizza joint that Tyler recommends because Tyler says that Portland pizza is the best.
It is.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Portland's the best pizza city in the United States. It's been documented repeatedly.
Oh,
So.
well, I'm excited. Now I'm really going to come because I love pizza.
Tyler, you got to get your best Portland pizza list together so we have it for the people that are coming to CritCon October 24th, 25th, 26th. So
Sounds great.
yeah.
All right. One last question for y'all before we go. Do you think that a regular 100 men could defeat a gorilla
No.
unarmed?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely. 100%.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, that's what I needed to know. So I just need to know where everyone here stood on that. Chuck, we'll have a talk about this later. So,
I mean, are we talking we talking regular
unarmed.
men?
Regular men, 100 randos pulled off the street
randos?
by magic. Average dispersion of average, combat age men. So men that could be drafted into the military potentially. Okay.
I mean, 100 probably, just sheer numbers probably, yeah. But I don't know. So where's your threshold? How many? Where's the 75? Would 75 defeat a gorilla?
Maybe. I think with proper techniques, I think 20 could do it.
Yeah, but those aren't regular men off the street. Those are
Yeah. Right. So I mean, 100 men is the question though. So
yeah. So well, everybody, thanks for coming on. Thanks again, Sammy. It was great to talk to you again. Congratulations on your second tournament win. We will see you at Tacoma. Do you have any social media or anything you want to plug?
Nope. Nothing at all. Just come by Sacramento. If anyone wants to come, we play Thursday and Friday here in Sacramento. So if you want to try to get a game in and learn some kill team, we'll be here.
What's your LG? Do you play in LGS or where do you play?
Yeah, we play at so Thursdays we play at A1 in Roseville, California, and then on Fridays we play at a place called Great Escape Games in Sacramento. So if you're in the Sacramento MSA or maybe a little closer or a little farther away, we'll always be happy to have you. We play at 6:00 both nights, and we're there pretty much every week. So just hop on by. We'll get you a game.
Nice. I'm at Painted Cave Minis. Tyler is at Lowbrow Minis. I just totally blanked on your
dicethrower.bigcartel.com. I'm running low on all my old shirts. Anything that's been printed before, get it before it's gone. And then I do have a couple new shirts coming out in the future. So,
and Connor at Spanaway on everything.
Mhm.
Send him your foot pics. Also want to thank our also want to thank our Patreons, Jenna, Cody, Sam, Sean, Nick, Holly, Zarin. I need to get a Zarin tier going. Greg, Rob, Zach, Scott, Keaton, and Ryan, local Vancouver guy. We'll see Ryan at the tournament on the 24th. Oh, it's one thing we need to do, Tyler, is we need to need to start brainstorming ideas. Since you and I are playing on that tournament on the 24th, we need to brainstorm some punishment for you and me. We'll get the Patreons on that.
Sounds good. I like it. So
awesome. Well, once again, everybody send Connor your foot pics and have a great night.
Please don't send them.